Hello! Welcome, everybody, to Print Island, to the campfire, to our biggest campfire that we've ever attempted. This may well enter the Guinness Book of World Records as the world's largest campfire. It's only the second one we've done. There was only 3 people at the first one, so it wasn't that hard to beat. But I thought I would gather together this group of people this evening who make up what can only be described as the finest all-stars team that has ever been at Printing United. Possibly the first one as well. I count myself fortunate to be amongst them. Although unfortunately I was unable to attend the show this year due to an eye patch pirate type incident that I had to deal with. But we won't dwell on that. But I have my little A here, so I feel like an all-star just by being here. My name is Richard Askam. Welcome to Print Island and welcome to my guests. I've asked them all to go on mute so that I can choose them selectively, but I'm pretty sure after about 5 minutes it will be a free-for-all. So I can only apologize on behalf of you, the listener, in that regard. But all-stars, welcome to the campfire. You see, they're good. They wave. I'm going to start, if I may, by asking Mark Subers, who's very kindly joined us this evening. Really, Mark, to give us almost a sort of flyby. What would you have seen if you'd gone over Orlando in a hot air balloon that particular week? What was it like? What was it all about?
Wow, that's quite a lead in there. Thank you, Richard. So, I think I'd start with just saying that we broke a lot of records. Which for us as event organizers, we obviously take, the ROI very seriously for our exhibitors. We want to make sure that, they're getting, so eclipsing 30,000 registered attendees was our number. And we are super, super happy to get that. I will say that this year's All-Star program, just thank you to everybody that's here. Your contributions on social, your contributions to the show were absolutely outstanding. We've tried to do this, and for whatever reason, we could never quite get it together. But the engagement with the student day, the engagement across the board, with the Spill the Ink, it was fantastic to have everybody here involved. So I think just, lots of high energy, Richard, just to give it, some, I think that's probably one of the best things. We had some DJs outside. And when you got to the top of the escalator, you were like ready, already bouncing around, and it didn't end when you got to the floor. Very crowded aisles, very, happy exhibitors, happy attendees, lots of information, lots of wonderful education on the floor, including, the printing AI pavilion, which I was in the whole time I was there. So sadly, I didn't really get a chance to see a lot of people, but I was in there, and it was, so I would say super high energy, breaking records, really, really great stuff.
No, that's great, and that's lovely to hear, isn't it? In a world that tends to throw, let's say, disappointing news at us all of the time, wherever you look, wherever you read, it's nice to hear that. And actually, I think, judging by the response also online in the week afterwards, it's always quite a good place, I think, now to sort of review other people's reviews of many, because we're not shy, are we? Let's be honest, in the print industry, if you want to say something, people will say it. Talking of which, Warren, what was your view on Printing United?
Oh, it's funny that you picked me. Actually, no, personally, I thought, and I've been to a lot of shows, I thought it was on fire. Forget all the prep before and all the marketing, but once you got in, the new room, the new layout, the rectangle, off the charts. I couldn't even remember which door I came into each time, but it was never the same door twice. Just in general, the people were upbeat. The traffic was there. Aside from a few of the old school people whose first question is, so what do you think of the traffic? Of which just tell them to shut up. My question is, how many good conversations did you have? I didn't really bump into anyone that had anything negative to say compared to other years where there's been a lot of people looking forward to speaking out loud negatively about the show. And this year we did not have it. I mean, I did a little clip about the top 10 thing. How do you know you had a good show? Mark, you said it. You didn't get to see all the people that you like and that you wanted to see, right? The other thing I'll add is the food was really good this year. Like compared to previous years, Korean barbecue, the poke bowl, which is important because you forget to eat sometimes during the day. But
there is that.
Hands down to everyone at Printing United who put this together, to Mark, particularly Amanda and Nicole, and to just all the other fine members on the team. But what a show it was.
Absolutely, and let's
Left
name
me
check
just
Chris
left me
Curran in that as well.
speechless.
Yeah, good. Well, I'm shocked, Warren, that you would be speechless. But yeah, I take your
Me
point.
too.
But yeah, no, a shout out to Chris Curran as well, who couldn't join us this evening around the campfire. But I'm sure he'll be on Print Island before too long. And so just throw it open to the floor, really, and feel free to dive in a polite way, obviously. Just thoughts and reflections and the standout moments for you, each of you from the show. Who wants to dive in? Go for it, Joanne.
I'll go first. I usually do. I have to agree that there was an energy about not just the show floor, the whole event. It didn't matter where you were, that I haven't felt since before COVID. So for me, it just really felt like, okay, we truly are back now. Like everything else, it's gone, it's done. We're back to where we need to be. And there was this energy about the whole show. I spent a lot of it in the educational area because I was heavily involved in that area. I didn't even get to walk the floor until Friday, till the last day. So I was very grateful that it was a rectangle and I didn't have to go between construction and no, honestly, I still didn't get to see the whole thing, but even the educational sessions, to see the level, the quality of presentations and presenters and attendees who sat in on the sessions. Again, I just thought all around it was really great. Well done, everybody.
I think it's interesting already in the first few minutes of talking that the shared thinking already is it's nice to have this sort of feeling back. So is this a classic sort of human response, do you think, to when largely when we get fed up with something, we do something about it? And I talked about the negative news and the negative feelings and the angry end of the internet and all that kind of stuff that we've all sort of got a little bit older with over the last few years. Do you think people have had enough of that? Do you think people now just want to absolutely talk up the positive? Kelly, what's your thoughts?
I believe so. One thing I was enjoying, and everybody's already talked about it already, is the excitement. But I was paying attention to the people that were talking, not to the vendors specific, but to one another, and hear what they were saying, about the show, about that particular vendor. And I did not hear a negative comment. Everybody was excited. They were in awe in some of the equipment that was there. So that was a very, very uplifting piece for me to hear because there was no negativity. Everybody was excited about it. Print has been dead for how many years now? 30, So all these people that were still excited about it, and then come along on Thursday for student days. Man, if you want something to uplift you, do student days. Walk around with those kids that are wide-eyed, just asking great questions and so excited to get into the industry. It's just unbelievable. It was absolute the cherry on the top for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. Chris, you very kindly, being a good, polite British boy, put your hand up. What's your question, Mr. Min?
Well, it's not really a question. I think it's a point, really. I think there's more sort of excitement and positive energy because there was something for everybody. What I mean by that was we had the AI pavilion in the middle, we had a large apparel piece, we had labels and packaging seemed quite well attended. It just generally felt as if everyone had their sector. They seemed, they were getting what they needed out of the show. Everyone was catered for, and I think that goes down to the research. And I know, Mark, you said before, it was a last-minute addition, the AI Pavilion, but actually one of my biggest frustrations as an exhibitor in prior years is not enough software focus. I think you nailed that. I think you gave, not only did you give an educational stage for software to be discussed and AI, but also you put vendors around the outside. And then something that we all get involved with, which is podcasting. There was a podcast studio for us to use. I mean, when we had that before? That's my point.
That's a very good point. And, obviously for the shy and retiring all-stars that we have on the call tonight, podcasting was a new thing. There's a queue. I've got a queue of people with their hands up. I'm seeing Colin. Welcome to the campfire, Colin.
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah, no, this was. I think I said to someone earlier today, like, I was coming out to the States with high expectations, having never been to the Printing United before, but having heard all about it, and those expectations were blown to smithereens, to be honest with you. Again, I've done some of the larger European shows over here, like 𝗡𝗨, FESPA, but it was just a whole different level, to be honest with you. I was really fortunate to be involved in Media Day, which was an amazing experience. Kind of a couple of the guys in here were enjoying me for that day, but again, just getting to see kind of upfront, like what was coming at the show from some of the OEMs, getting to interview them, kind of in the afternoon, and then obviously getting together with all these amazing guys. After Media Day, we all went for a nice taco meal and got to know each other a bit more. And for me, that was the highlight of the week. I think just actually kind of meeting all you guys and actually spending time with you. And we'd obviously had some calls leading up to the event, but just actually seeing it all come together. And yeah, and to be fair, the conversations that we've had since then, and I know there's going to be some collaborations coming in the future as well, but so much to talk about. But I think for me, the highlight was actually just getting together with everyone around this table, and or around the campfire, should I say. And and yeah, just seeing how we can all help each other, how we can work together. And I know there's been a lot of chat around that already. So yeah, it's been an amazing. It's going to take some time to come down from, I think. But the high of Printing United is still very much thriving just now.
And I think, Colin, over the years we've sort of underestimated the value of the human interaction, haven't we? And you know that I heard a lovely expression. I can't remember where, that there's the B2B and there's D2C, but everybody's forgotten H2H, which is human to human. You know, and that's the kind of thing that has always struck me in the time that I've spent, fortunate enough to be around the printing industry. It's always people first. And if you can find an environment and a situation, whether that's a departure lounge at the airport or the bar in the hotel or the bus queue in the morning, people are just talking to each other. And I've always loved that about the industry. Mark Pomerantz, you are on my queue, next in line. Sorry, Colin.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. And I echo all the sentiments of my fellow All-Stars, mostly coming from the perspective of the attendees, and which I agree with, and I'm more in that camp now, but I'll give a perspective from a OEM vendor, let's say from past perspective, and why I think this contributed to that attitude of being happy with what we have. If you think about a lot of events over the years, many times people are going because there's some mysterious new product or technology that they have to see or qualify. Whereas I feel like now the digital technologies, for the most part, across the board are mature, they're working, they're not technology issues so much anymore. So AI applications aside, I think people had a good feeling going, knowing that if they invest in something today, it's something that's going to work for them. And I think there was a lot of validation of that at the show. That was the great thing about having all that equipment there. Now you add the AI kind of mystery that's new. How will that be applied, and in what case, and who's going to own what perspective? That gave enough excitement where I think people are now trying to put all of those pieces together after the show and see how they're going to make it work for them. So I felt like when I was in the various booths, I not only spoke to the OEM vendors, but I just started conversations with random people standing in the booth. What are you here for? What do you see that you like? And whoever said it earlier, the level of how positive they were was almost shocking. It was really across the board. I was really happy to hear that.
It's nice to hear that. And I guess, again, we all forget that you need a blend of AI, don't you? You need the artificial intelligence, and then you need the actual intelligence. And that comes from those people in this lovely industry. Davis, you have the biggest water bottle I've ever seen in my life. So please bring it forward to the campfire so everybody can see it.
Is it this one?
That's the kiddie. Yeah. Or maybe it's perspective. Maybe it's not as big as it. These things can These things can appear differently as you lean in and out. You had your hand up, sir.
Yes. I'm a little bit of different perspective than everybody because I would be considered a buyer. I own a business. I'm not a coach. I'm not a consultant. I'm a buyer in this market. And I thought the show was absolutely electric. But the one area that probably is helped us most in business didn't take place on the show floor. It was the after dark sessions. It was the dinner with the entire all-star team one night. It was meeting everybody, communicating, understanding other people's stories, figuring out how your world can connect to their world where everybody can make a much better connected print world. I had wonderful conversations with Chris about what he did in his background, and Joanne and the sales, and Colin and his coaching. So it was amazing what we connected there. But the After Dark Networks events where we talk to other business owners and, hey, what do you do? I do this. Can we connect? Can we work together? How can we push business forward was really the most meaningful to myself, probably in my company. Apart from learning new technologies, that's probably what drove home the most after I returned from the show.
And I think, Davies, that's one of the founding philosophies behind Print Island is the logic that we have our best conversations when we're at our most relaxed, and that's typically the bar after the event, or the sometimes depending on the show, the party or whatever the event. You take that, you drop that professional veneer for a moment, and then we become ourselves. And actually, the relatability that we have amongst ourselves is one of the most important assets that I think the industry has. Full stop. So it's one of the reasons that we set this ball rolling with Print Island. So that's a very, very good point. I'm kind of jealous I missed the tacos as well now, which is next year. Who have I got next? Shelby, you are up on my list.
Well, it's really great to see everybody again. First of all, Richard, I'm sorry you couldn't join us because it was an experience. I wanted to look at it from a different kind of point of view. I've been going to Printing United Expo before it was Printing United Expo. I was going to it 14 years ago when it was SGIA. And I have been an exhibitor with my own booth. I have been inside people's booth. I have walked the floor. I have been an instructor in the educational sessions. So my experience was kind of fun because not only is it neat to be part of the all-star team and to listen to all of you, especially those of you who've never been to a show before and get some experience, but it was fun for me to see how the vendors were doing, the exhibitors were doing, business people like Davis, Joanne. I spent most of my time in the educational sessions too. I was part of the G7 exchange the day before the show opened, and then I had my own things going on during the show. So walking the show floor was very minimal for me. I did spend time at Spill the Ink. I needed to go to a couple of awards things. I was there when a colleague of mine sold a $1.4 million machine out of their booth, and they brought out the champagne. That was a cool moment. I was so glad I was there for that. I think the show, I think Joanne had a good point. I feel like that excitement of the show is back again from the pre-COVID days. And I always come away from, even though there's a lot of positive things, I always have to come away with one thing we could improve upon. And the one thing that I thought we could improve upon with the All-Stars was the Spill the Ink location. I felt like, first of all, the food was great, but it was right next to the food. And it was only operating, I think, at 11 and 3:30, I think was the times, but people were bringing their food and their meetings into those tables. So when our time allotments showed up, we would go in. I chased 4 people out the very first Spill the Ink because I just went up to them and said, "Hey, are you here for Spill the Ink?" They're like, no, I'm sorry, I'm leaving. I'm going to a meeting. I'm like, well, I wasn't really asking you to leave. I was just trying to strike a conversation. So I don't know if we could find a better spot for Spill the Ink, mark it better, maybe have its own little entrance instead of it being open with just round tables where it seemed like anybody could go. But not that I didn't have good conversations at Spill the Ink. I think after the first one, it kind of caught on. especially the 3:30 ones where they had the happy hour. That was attractive. I just think we could do something more with that area. I don't want to think we should get rid of it, but I think we should market better and market it better.
Good, fearless feedback. I love it. And what you should have deployed, really, Shelby, was a former member of the British royal family. Maybe you should have gone the "Do you know who I am" route. That and just shown them the All-Star shirt. That would have done the trick, really. So, and for those of you that don't know who I'm talking about, it's the Andrew, formerly known as Prince. Joanne, you are next on my list. What have you got?
All right, so I've been jotting down notes so I wouldn't forget. So what started off as 1 point is now 3 points. So I've got one thing that I thought was awesome, one thing that I regret, and one thing I think we can do better.
Nice.
So the one thing that I thought was awesome is our team. I don't know how the selection process was, but I could not have imagined a better inaugural team. It was orchestrated chaos, I would say. But I am grateful to the Alliance for allowing us to just do what we needed to do. We weren't told, oh, you have to do X amount of posts or you have to be here. We were given guidelines, but really, we all just grabbed it the way we all do in our own unique ways, and it showed. And I think because we're such a different group, both geographically, stages in our careers, what we do, how we do it, it made for probably the most well-rounded collective, simply because of who we are. So I am very, very, very grateful for that, and of course for our team captain, and who who really did try and shepherd us wet cats. But I think he did an awesome job, Colin. The regret. My one regret was I forget who it was. I might say Fuji, but that could be wrong. Is that they were doing these 3D Harry Potter dress ups in their booth. I don't know who saw that. And I am a huge, if you can't tell by my background, like I am a huge Harry Potter nut. Like I've got the wand. My kids brought me like Harry Potter butterbeer goldfish crackers. Like that's me. And and on the way out, I saw it. I could just kick myself for not having had the opportunity to don a costume and have my cutout. So that's my regret. And then finally, the what we can do better, which I have not been secret at voicing. I voiced it from the moment it happened. I think the fact that we had such an amazing opening, we had the marching band come in, we had the ribbon cutting ceremony come in. What we should not have had were presentations running at the same time. So I would love to do the pomp and circumstance, do the grand opening, get the show floor open, but maybe start the sessions 2 hours later or even 1 hour later. Like get everybody on the floor. The vendors will be happy, gives the speakers a little bit of chance to see what's going on even before we all head back up to our rooms. And I think everybody all around would be grateful for that 1 or 1.5 or 2 solid hours on the show floor with no other distractions, nowhere else to go but on the show floor.
Yeah, no, that's
So
a
there
really
you go.
good point, Joanna. And my background, as you know, of speaking at events such as this, there's always been that awkward moment when you realize that nobody's paying attention, and it may well be what you're saying, and in my case, it usually is. But I guess it's almost a high class problem. And I'll ask Mark this at the end before we finish. But such a packed program, you kind of can't leave anything out. So the question is, does that program need to be slightly less packed in order to be able to leave something out? And that's the sort of feedback that the whole reason we're doing this post-game analysis is, if it was brilliant, great. What can we improve on to make it really brilliant? And it's not a criticism, it's just a fact. And I like that. So thank you for that. Christopher Min, you are back on my list.
Yeah, thanks, Richard. So Joanne's point, I was gonna throw some petrol on that fire. I thought it was very strange how a group of randoms, in essence, who've never really met each other before. I mean, I met Colin, I think, more virtually in one drunken night And
Only one.
all of a sudden, there's been more since, but we won't go into that. In fact, we may mention the Microsoft party, but we will go on to that in a second. But the point I'm making is that everything just gelled and clicked, even coming in last minute. And I think there's a lot of there were some great organisations from the GM. The staff, we call her the GM. Nicole was fantastic as well, running around making sure everything was right. It just worked, and it's one of those moments where it's going to sound corny, but the stars aligned, if that makes sense. And I went to a couple of the sessions, and I saw the jerseys in the crowd. Everyone was supporting each other, so that was really, really nice to see. But throughout the show, I was switching between being there as an all-star and also remembering what it was like 12 months earlier being an exhibitor. And I kept thinking, okay, so, and also we work in events as well, don't we, Richard? We hosting events for other organizations. So we know what goes into this. We know what's required. We also know what we get back from our customers. So I was thinking about the press day, and I thought, this is really good. This is really refreshing. We're all in here. There's the energy behind promoting this. The exhibitors are getting a chance to share things with us first before the madness of the show starts. And I thought that's real value for money for them. But then you had the speed dating. And I was shocked because I went into it with a point of view focused on software rather than everything else, if you like. And I was very quickly realigned that every conversation had value to me as much as it did to the person on the other side of the table. So I think I was really pleased to see that. But again, I kept thinking, we can do more. And if we do more with the exhibitor pre-show, it's better for the alliance membership. It's better for the show when the show starts. It's a big investment for the exhibitor coming to an event like this, but there was a different approach. They were a bit more relaxed on the press day. They were sharing what they were doing, like so Colin where was interviewing them and getting that content out early doors, and then we could follow up the conversation on the trade show floor. So again, I come back to my point earlier. I think there was value for everybody, no matter what your role was at the show, and I think that's something that definitely was a success by the alliance. But I think we could do more pre-show. And that would be my feedback. And that's not a criticism because this has never been done before, but we can do more and we can bring more value.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and it just made me think of the Olympic Games in London in 2012, and they had a bunch of people, volunteers that were called games makers, and they were there to not only help people but also to encourage people to enjoy themselves, because sometimes, especially the Brits, we need permission to relax. You Americans are way better at it, but sometimes that permission and the All-Stars, the photographs that I saw and the coverage that I saw, even from this far away, even with one eye, and I saw these shirts dotted around, and it was like a concerted, organized, but subtly done effort to just lift everybody up a little bit. And I think those of you that I know well, I know would be brilliant at that, and those of you that I don't know well, I'm pretty sure you would be amazing. So I think it's testament to the organization to create effectively a bunch of games makers, and create the All-Stars. I think that's worked a treat this year. So I'm looking forward to hopefully staying on the All-Stars next year. That's the problem now, isn't it? What if we get benched? Nobody's thought about that. Let's ask Caitlin what she thinks. Caitlin, you've got your hand up.
Yes. So I was really just thinking back on my time at Printing United, and I was going to echo quite a few of the sentiments that Shelby had just around spill the ink and just what we can do better next time. And it got me thinking, we're sort of the first pledge class of all stars for anyone who's in Greek life or had been in that world. And so I think one of the things I'm really looking forward to next year is getting the gang back together, really. And one area where I thought that could be really useful, we'll see, is at Spill the Ink. It's like, all right, we need to get more bodies there, bump up the enthusiasm. Yes, ideally change the location, do some more marketing and promotion around the event, but bringing in, the new pledge class that will haze through next year's Printing United, as well as the OGs, to just continue to promote and sort of build this collection of voices that are promoting print would be really, I think, special to see year after year.
I think that's a really good point, and I love the connotations with the pledge as well. So I guess we can sit back as alumni and watch as the kids really mess it up. So yeah, that's fine. Warren, I've got you on my list.
Yeah, so I wanted to just do a shout out to one individual, Ronnie Goodwin of Goodwin Graphics. I never really spent a lot of time in the apparel section or the apparel decorating section, as they call it now. And now that I'm into this whole line of T-shirts in my store to promote print and a few other things like mental health, I was popping around everywhere and I jumped in front of him and I'm like, you look like a guy that likes T-shirts, because I'm selling everybody as I'm going. And he listened, and then turns out he's been in the T-shirt business for 50 years or 40 years. And I said, what do you do? And when he said T-shirts, I went, oh. And we just had the best conversation. And he took me around the section, the apparel decorating section by hand, introduced me to people manufacturing the equipment, people with the blank T-shirts, people printing T-shirts, the different kind of T-shirts. I had a 30-minute, I've never known so much about apparel printing, even though I'm buying it now. And he didn't know me from Adam, and I never met him before. And it's people like that make this industry just amazing. And if I learned anything from him, I am going to try to do more and more helping out and reaching out to people. So kudos to you, Ronnie, if you're listening to this.
That's good. Good
Have a
point.
good day.
Well, and yeah, well made. And who knew Warren was selling T-shirts?
Who knew?
Who knew?
Well, I'm gonna do a plug. Good teas, good cause, and I give 10% of the profit to the kids. So the printwhisper.shop, find something on print, fishing, mental health, and AI, and I guaranteed for conversation and laughter. Thanks for the
There
plug.
it is. I've won $1. Right. Next. Next
I'll give you a
Mark,
T-shirt.
Thank you, Mark Pomerantz. You are on my list.
Yeah, and I am now the proud owner of 2 Print Whisperer T-shirts. Thank you, Warren. I love them. So I think Chris and a few others started the ball rolling on this. How marketable and should it be marketed that way are the All-Star team as an entity, right? Because if you think about it, you think of all of the businesses that attend Printing United Expo under one roof. And if you were to assemble, quote unquote, a consulting or some type of advisory board or group for all those industries, it would look something like this, right? Because we have people that represent all the different segments, different specialties, different disciplines within it. And so to me, there's a value there for Printing United to continue this, and not just over the last couple of weeks. I know there were reasons it launched when it did, but okay, now we've got a year to plan. I don't think we should wait until 30 days before. There might be some things we can do between now and then, right, that pique the interest. Maybe there's even some space for us on the floor in Las Vegas to do something to be defined where we could help attendees as well too. This is just a bucket of resources, a bucket of great resources that spans the entire interest levels of the attendees. And I think there's something to be gained there for the Alliance to do that. I don't have the answers, but I think it would be a great dialogue to have. I'm sure everyone would have their ideas. And Mark and Chris, you guys can listen to us, and Amanda and Nicole, and I'm sure together we'll make some great recipe. But I feel like there's something more there than just the great time and the fun that we had, which we did.
I think you're absolutely right, Mark. And it's the holy grail, isn't it, of any organization to create community, to create camaraderie, shared values, shared goals, and great communicators, which you all undoubtedly are. And I think that's the perfect time to come back to Mark Subers actually for the final word, because the fire is starting to die down now. We're down to the embers, and we've run out of beer, so people are leaving. So Mark Subers, you've listened with interest for the last 30 minutes or so to the All Stars post game analysis of Printing United Expo this year. What's your reflection on what you've heard, and also going forward, listening to some of the thoughts and suggestions?
Yeah, for sure. So again, thank you. I think, the takeaway for me, well, I've got 2 pages of notes. So I'm going to try to wrap this as neatly as I can, but we do listen, and I think you guys see that, and it's reflected. So if you have any opinions to share them with Nicole or Amanda or Denise or whomever, me, we're, not going to hurt my feelings. Okay, we're not the, we always, some of these things come up by other people's suggestions. We're always happy, to entertain that. So thank you, and keep that feedback coming. A couple things something that Chris mentioned, and I think it kind of plays the idea that we've been listening to the industry now 7 years, 8 years since we've moved from SGIA. And Chris mentioned that there was an excitement on the floor. And I think generally speaking, you get into a new hobby, you get into a new activity, you get into a new, dating situation. There's a level of excitement there, right? And I think what we've been able to do on the floor is provide things like, look at Warren getting into t-shirts. I'm sure that was super exciting for him to walk around and have somebody tell him about it. It's something brand new, right? So for me, I do think that, we've provided a basically framework that everyone can find things on the floor, right? And things that are new, whether it's labels, whether it's apparel. We talked to implants at one of our sessions 5 years ago, and they're like, "What do you mean about apparel?" We're like, "T-shirts and your shorts and sweatshirts." Had no idea all the promotional stuff. So it's really exciting to get into that. Davis, you had talked about, people getting together. I do believe strongly that if this is the focal point in the Americas, the gathering point for our industry, we're really happy to do that goal, because I think it's really important. I think that, Shelby, you had talked about the first year. We knew coming out that we needed to change the way that the Spill the Ink was done. We're like, oh, we needed entrance, so we need this. So, again, first year that we've gone through, we'll continue to sharpen it up. But keep that feedback coming. We'll do our best that we can, and always listen to and be able to execute on as much of the feedback as we get.
Mark, that's brilliant. Thank you. And I think that gives everybody good heart and good confidence as we head off towards the Christmas holidays, and start thinking. You'll already be thinking about Las Vegas. Who isn't thinking about Las Vegas, to be honest, on any given day? But listen, thank you, everybody, for joining me around the campfire tonight on Print Island for the Printing United Expo post-game analysis. I need a snappier title, Chris. Give me a nudge on that one. But thank you for joining us. It's lovely to see you all online, and I genuinely am really looking forward to seeing you all in person somewhere next year. So from me, Richard Askam, and from everybody on Print Island, thanks for watching.